If you guys don't drink, then you're probably not really interested in this episode.
Yeah,
But if you're like us and you enjoy a glass or four occasionally, I have some thoughts on this. It's a common issue, so we'll just kind of chop it up and see where it goes with our own sort of viewpoints and anecdotal experiences with alcohol, exercise, nutrition, health in general. Yeah. Welcome to Coach's Corner, episode 45. I am Coach Justin.
And I'm Coach Ethan.
And today, folks, as we round out this year and move into the next year, we're going to be talking about alcohol. And can we booze and lose? Can we build significant amounts of muscle mass while drinking alcohol? How much alcohol should one drink?
All of it.
Yeah.
None of it.
How do we?
No.
Yeah, as much as is available.
No.
How do we, create a healthy relationship around alcohol? This is assuming that you guys drink. If you guys don't drink, then you're probably not really interested in this episode.
Yeah,
But if you're like us and you enjoy a glass or four occasionally, I have some thoughts on this. It's a common issue, so we'll just kind of chop it up and see where it goes with our own sort of viewpoints and anecdotal experiences with alcohol, exercise, nutrition, health in general.
Yeah.
So
how to keep the compass pointing the right
yeah,
direction.
keep that North Star while
towards
still,
the bottle. No.
towards right down the bottle. Yeah. Can you find happiness at the bottom of a bottle, Ethan?
Only if you eat the tequila worm.
An interesting way that it was put to me at one point, she was talking about like, it was like a business podcast, and it was like more in line with how to train staff well. But then she used alcohol as an analogy, and I thought it was interesting. So it goes like this. The latency between cause and effect is the most important aspect of any behavioral change. In other words, we all know what happens if you drink too much alcohol. You get hungover, and hangovers fucking suck.
Especially as you get older.
Especially as you get older. It's just like,
man.
oh my God, it's 4 p.m. and I still feel like I can't even like keep my eyes open.
Yeah.
But the problem is the hangover is a day later, because immediately there's no latency. Like imagine if you drank and immediately started throwing up. Then you would probably be like, oh, forget that. That's terrible.
Yeah,
it's
never
like,
going to do that.
The fire makes my fingers burn. I'm not going to touch the fire.
Yeah.
But imagine if like when you touched it, it was like, the most amazing euphoric experience of your life for hours. You're just like, oh, this feels so fucking good. And then like later you had blisters. The latency of the cause and effect is what changes behavior. So this woman was using it in context of like, as soon as an employee does something, you need to immediately correct it, because if time goes by and you don't address it, the latency of the consequence is what does or doesn't change behavior. And I think
the disconnect.
Yes. Like, it's like when you're training a dog, not to use like employees as like dogs, but when you're training a dog, you can't like let them do something bad and then like 10 minutes later start yelling at them because they're day. Like, what? Yeah, It's like right in the act.
It's the same with your partners,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But
it is interesting because I think it is a similar thing. It's like you can't harbor something and then bring it up in a fight or a conflict.
Exactly.
And like, well, last year you said this, and now that I'm upset about this thing,
you've been holding on to this forever.
Yeah, like all of a sudden it's
doesn't carry the same weight anymore.
Yeah, it's just
so that's how it works with alcohol, where it's like, because the hangover is later, but the joy is now. That's where it becomes a problem, right? I thought that was really interesting, because we all know what's going to happen if we drink too much.
Yeah.
But yet we still do it because right away it feels really good.
And that can even be, that's an interesting perspective. And I also feel like that even applies to like weight gain, being the core process of this podcast is about, though. But like, if you have a certain goal set, drinking is never going to feed weight loss. It's inevitably not going to be the case. It's just empty calories. The way it's like sometimes people consider alcohol the fourth macro.
I've heard that,
because it's per gram has 7 calories, as I understand it, and however you're measuring grams of alcohol in a liquid, but
milliliters.
But the calorie density is not falling in line with carb, fat, or protein. And so it has its own like little calorie profile. And but it is interesting because I saw this whole rabbit hole. I watched this whole video of how your liver processes it, and basically it goes completely to fat storage.
Yep.
Like they're like people.
It's a toxin.
Yeah, and it's just the way the calories within the alcohol, because there are calories within alcohol, but they're basically not able to actually be utilized for energy, and so you might be tired and have a couple beers and feel more energetic. But that's just from the effects of the byproduct. I forget what that thing that actually makes you feel drunk. It's spacing on me now. But, you know, there might be these perceptions of energy and things like that. But fundamentally, the alcohol has calories, but actually cannot be used like for an energy source. Like those calories are not being used for anything. Zero. Yeah. They 100% get stored as fat.
And then on top of that, because it is a poison, your liver kind of shuts down normal metabolic functions and goes specifically towards metabolizing this toxin in your system, meaning that while your body is metabolizing alcohol, which is like 1 drink per hour. So if you have 4, there might be 4 hours of your day or 2 or 3 hours of your day or whatever, where you're not actively burning fat because your body is diverting all resources towards detoxing this poison out of your body.
So there's the delayed repercussion both with hangover and also for the potential for a body composition
think about
goal.
It. Let's say you have 4 or 5 drinks a night, which might seem like a lot to some people, but trust me, I know people that do that.
It's very easy, especially if it's a longer night. You know, it's like if you're hanging out and enjoying a long dinner and an evening with friends, and it's a 6-hour experience.
Yep.
And people get there, you have a glass of wine. You have a glass of wine at the beginning of dinner. You have a second glass of wine.
Someone's going around filling your glass up for you as
you have
you're
2 glasses with the meal, and then maybe you have a fourth or even potentially a fifth as the night rolls on. Yeah. You know, not necessarily in a 2-hour span, but over many hours. Your intoxication level might not ever reach that high.
But your body's constantly filtering this alcohol.
And you're still dealing with the calories. The bottom line is the calories are going in.
Yeah. So you got the calories. Your body is basically, during that time that you're metabolizing alcohol, you're not burning fat. So let's say out of a 24-hour window, if only 20 of them are actually burning fat, that means you're potentially losing out on 20% of your day's ability to burn fat. To multiply that over 3-4 times a week, you could be in the same calorie range as somebody else who doesn't drink, but see just way slower progress, just simply because when you have that alcohol in your system, your body just isn't burning any fat.
It's like a double negative.
Detox. It's a double negative.
You're consuming a fairly high caloric substance that has no ability for energy use, and you're shutting down the use of your normal macro energy. So,
plus, like when you drink alcohol, guess what? It
who doesn't want to eat French fries?
Your judgment a little bit, right? So alcohol tends to lead to 2 a.m. burritos.
Yes, poor decision making. Get 2 desserts.
That taco stand looks not so bad all of a sudden.
I'm not exactly hungry, but I'm not hungry. Yeah. I can eat a quesadilla right now.
Right. And so, this is a lot of that kind of stuff going on with when you drink. However, we live in the reality that, like, I think most folks listen to this probably are looking for a sustainable approach, and maybe you drink, maybe you don't. If you don't, like I said, probably not your episode. If you do, and you're just trying to figure out like how to optimize your life around this, because it's like there's more to it. It's like when we were getting ready for the show, we were discussing like there's more. Like, yes, there is the objective sort of bad things about alcohol that no one can deny.
Yeah.
But then there's like the social element where, it is fun. It is nice to like meet a buddy you haven't seen for a while and like grab a couple of whiskeys with them and catch up, or to like go to a nice dinner and like share a bottle of wine and like have the sommelier come and like fill your glass for you and describe where this wine comes from. Like, these are experiences in life that are really nice. And for me, at least, especially after a long week of work, man, it's like wonderful to like go to a nice dinner with Tanya and just like be able to share a bottle of wine and like, and so it's like there is that part that is also part of health too.
100%. And so I think, the main thing is like, just we were talking about this, and I have to say it, keeping it real, and it's pretty much shown that no amount of alcohol is good for the body.
Turns out less is best.
None is best. Yeah. I mean, and there's always like the 1 glass of wine per day, good for heart health, and
not true.
The resveratrol and all. It's just not true. No. It's pretty conclusive that 0 amount of alcohol is the best amount of alcohol in terms of just pure physiology.
Health. If your fucking body is your temple, then there is no amount of alcohol that's going to serve you to any degree.
Yeah.
But, if your temple has a little moss on it and maybe you're not keeping it up.
Weathered a little bit. Yeah.
It's been a minute since you've swept it out, then, maybe.
Well, I think it's important to honor that, and so I think it's just, in no way are we condoning drinking, but I think it's just more about,
we're not condemning it either.
Yeah, not condemning it. And it's about balance and being able to maneuver and participate with life in an educated, intentional way that includes the lights and the shadows. I mean, there's a reason that playing in the dark is so fun. There's a million things in life that I can name that include playing in the dark, so to speak, that people do all the time.
I think I know what he's talking about.
There's a lot of things.
I get it.
But I think it's just fundamentally. I think the encompassing
which
of
alcohol can help sometimes with.
Of course, 100%. Get you right there. No, but really, there is. I think that the totality of the human experience includes the ups and downs, the peaks, the valleys, whatever kind of dualistic analogy you want to take. And I think that there is, sometimes a little poison isn't so bad for the net. And again, it's not condoning, but I think that's just like the realistic truth that when you dance with life, it includes all of these things. And maybe your path does eliminate as much shadow as possible, but realistically, for the most of us, we kind of have our foot in a little bit of one and a little bit of the other all the time.
So then I think then it's like, okay, let's just say you are on a health journey. And I think it's important to have awareness that health is no one thing, because there are plenty of people on their high horses who don't drink, who would look down on people who do, but yet their diet's all over the place. They're skipping workouts. Their sleep is shit. They, forget to drink enough water, versus someone who might have a few drinks consistently, but yet has all those other things buttoned up. And I think I would fall into that category. I would think that person in general would be quote unquote healthier as an aggregate. So health is no one thing. You can achieve high levels of health and fitness while still having some drinks throughout the week, but you can also achieve levels of very very poor health and having no alcohol at all.
I mean, there are plenty of people that I know, people's parents, just individuals in my life that I can reflect on that just like never drink, but they're still overweight, and they still battle with their body being a temple, so to speak, right? And so to your point, it's multifaceted and it's not one thing. And whether you don't drink because you look down on it, or you just don't drink because it was never your thing, that one thing isn't going to be a determinant of your overall health and longevity and the quality of life you have.
I just think like with anything in life, it takes a degree of participation and willingness to participate, because I think sometimes alcohol is also associated with like abandonment. Like I'm just going to like reckless abandonment with like this evening. Like, fuck it. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to have. And I think that like, if we look at things as a spectrum, that's when it just goes way off course, where it's just like, you're drinking more than your body can metabolize. You're outpacing your body's ability to metabolize alcohol, and you kind of turn a corner where it's like, just from like the toxin level alone, you're going to be destroyed. But then like that's just going to lead to other bad decisions like driving drunk or ordering a fucking bunch of nasty food after you drink,
get into a fight with
and so it's like I think that like if you're going to do it smart, it's like
there it is.
It's like being aware of your state. And like having rules for yourself, like no more than like 2 per hour. To give your body a little time to sort of catch up. So like it's almost like think of it as like riding that wave. It's like one drink, you might as well just be sober. What's the point, right? Unless you just really love like the taste of it, which
maybe it goes well with your steak, whatever.
But like if it's kind of like an evening where everyone's kind of getting together and we want to have a few drinks, it's like kind of like being aware of your state and like kind of riding that wave where this down here is not really fun, might as well not even do it. Up here, it's like, whoops, what the hell just happened? But it's like this little midsection where it's like, okay, let me just kind of keep riding that wave, having like a glass of water after every drink and kind of just like keeping that nice vibe where you can still talk and you're coherent and you're fun, but you're not like slurring your words or crossing your eyes or whatever. I think that's the objective on like a sort of like a night out where you can wake up the next day and not like, and be like, okay, you know, like not too crazy.
Well, I think it goes back to, you know, it's a degree of, I think in a sense, the perspective that we're offering people is a degree of intentional participation. Mm-hmm. Yes. And or responsibility, which can have a daunting connotation to it. But it's just like with counting calories. It's like counting calories is kind of a pain in the ass. It's more work, and it's a degree of attention that you have to pay to your life, but it offers a lot of freedom and understanding and takes out the guesswork and puts you in control of your circumstance. And at least even if you overeat, you still know what's going on, whatever. But there's a degree of intentional reflection and responsibility, an intelligence towards your process that has to happen. And I think for me, it's the same idea with alcohol. It's like, it's not don't do it, but let's become wiser so that we can approach the process of drinking with some intentionality, with some self-awareness and with some self-responsibility so that we can do it in a way that serves us and has the best outcome possible.
Minimize the downside, maximize the upside.
Yeah, and it just takes a little bit of paying attention. And yes, you have to take on a little more responsibility, but I think on the path of self-refinement, that is the eternal path, right? If you don't pay attention to your money, then you know what's going to happen, right? And that's a responsibility you have to take. And I think it's just the same thing. And the more responsibility you take, the more you can maneuver effectively. And like you said, minimize the damages.
And I think that like, okay, now bringing it down to, let's say one is on a fitness journey and they do want to have alcohol in their life, but they also don't want to just like fuck their progress up either. So then how do we effectively manage the caloric impact of it?
Going back to it.
And so even though, like Ethan said, you know, it is, some would consider a fourth macro, it's not really a fat, not really a carbohydrate, definitely not a protein. What the fuck is it? I think that like what we have our clients do is we just count it as a carbohydrate. So look, if you want to have alcohol, and like if you've ever tracked your calories, you know that when you look at like MyFitnessPal or the Lose It app or any sort of calorie tracker app, it gives you the calories for said drink, but then there's no like, it doesn't allocate macros anywhere. It just says calories. It's it's just a glass of wine is just 150 calories.
But that's it, yeah.
And so then we go, well, what? So then what, sometimes the pitfall is if the people are tracking their macros and they add a glass of wine, they still see all these carbs they get to have because although it added calories, it didn't take their carbs. And so they're looking at just their macros and they're like, oh, I still have more carbs. So we always just say count it as a carbohydrate. So,
and I think that makes sense. And because also I feel like carbohydrate generally is the highest amount of a macro you get.
Yeah.
I mean, pending protein, but fundamentally
you have more of them. Meaning
you have more grams of carbohydrate in your general balance.
Typically, people have at least 150 to 300 carbs a day.
So there's a little more wiggle room there.
So the way we would do this then is like, okay, this is again like where this like intention and participation with it comes into play. Like, let's say you do want to. You are tracking your calories because you do want to build muscle or burn fat, or you're on some sort of a plan. Then you look at your calorie intake and you go, okay, I'm hypothetically 2,000 calories. Okay, of that 2,000 calories, I'm eating 300 grams of carbohydrates a day. We know that carbohydrates have 4 calories for every 1 gram. Okay, so what is that? How does that translate to alcohol? Well, let's say I want to have 2 glasses of wine.
Right.
And we know that a glass of wine is 150 calories, so 2 would be 300 calories, right?
Yep.
So then what you're going to do is you're going to divide 300 by 4, which is 75. And so out of your 300 grams of carbohydrates that you get for the day, you're going to minus 75. And so now you only get to eat 225 grams instead of 300 because you've made the conscious decision to pull back 75 grams of your carbohydrates so that you can incorporate 2 glasses of wine in that example. So that's how we coach our clients on alcohol. It's like, go ahead and do it, but here's your total calories. You just have to minus those.
You got to build it in. And I think it just goes back to like, again, like you have to, if you are specifically on a weight loss journey, you have to be paying attention
you can't not do that.
You can't not be paying attention to your calories. And again, it's like now you've got this master framework to dance the dance how you want to dance it. Mm-hmm. And the more intentional you can be and the more you can build it into your day, the better off you're going to be. And so that maybe means you have a little bit less rice with lunch, right? Mm-hmm. Or you don't have put your hash brown with breakfast or whatever it is. And that because you're going to go out with your girls or your boys later and you're going to have some drinks. And so you build it in, and it's that whole thing. And even if you end up going over a drink or two, just like we've talked about in the past with counting calories, as much as it's about hitting the target, it's about mitigating damage.
Yes.
Right? So if you eat a normal day's worth of food and you go and you have 4 drinks, now you're 4 drinks over.
Now you're 600 calories over.
If you build 3 drinks in and you have 5, now you're only 2 drinks over. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's just a mitigation of damages that in the long run will make a big difference. And
I always tell our client, I always say that, I'm like, listen, maybe you're 20% off. Maybe you plan for 2 or 3 and you end up having 4 or 5 because the night keeps going and you're having fun.
Yeah.
But the fact that you had planned it ahead of time and put up these parameters means you only went 20% over. But if there was no parameters, you'd be a fucking 120% over
100%.
Easily.
Yeah.
And so exactly right. It's just like understanding that no one is squeaky clean,
No, it's a messy dance out there.
But by simply just pulling back, no carbs for breakfast and lunch because you're going to have a handful of drinks, even if you're a little over, that can really, in the long run, help you get to where you want to be a lot faster without having to give everything you enjoy in life in the process.
100%. And to the conversation we're having right now, which is the person who's on a body composition goal and looking to lose some fat, and therefore making sure they have to be in some type of a caloric deficit, therefore paying attention to calories, and therefore incorporating their alcoholic drinks. There are going to be certain drinks that are going to be more conducive to losing weight than others, right? Mm-hmm. So the alcohol in the drink is the calories that can't be escaped from the alcohol. Mm-hmm.
But it's the alcohol itself.
Yeah, no matter what. Right. So like a 5% beer to a glass of wine to 1 shot of liquor is all the same amount of alcohol, same metabolic process and time for the hour, like you mentioned earlier. But what then can happen is that certain drinks can have more calories.
For sure.
And so beer is an infamous one because there's a lot of starch in the beer from the brewing process and all the grains and that kind of thing. And so if you really are going for it, then there are wiser decisions that you can make to get to that goal while still imbibing.
There's a reason they call it a beer gut.
Yeah, because those beers, there can be like 250 calories extra. It's insane.
Like if you get
one beer can be a 400, like a stout or an IPA.
Man, it's crazy.
Oh, dude, it's wild. Sometimes I looked up this one time and I was like, holy shit, this is like a 500 calorie can of beer. I'm like,
it's like when people tell me, I just have a few beers every night, and I'm like, in theory I hear you and that shouldn't be a problem, but the reality is that's probably 600 to 700 calories at the end of your night after you've already eaten your full day's worth of food. And you're sitting here thinking like, I don't really eat that bad. The only vice I have is a couple of beers a night. But man, you times that out by 5-10 years, and that could easily be 30-40 pounds of fat you're just carrying around your gut because of just all those empty calories.
Extra empty calories. Empty. And so do you have any recommendations for your clients for kind of the type of alcohol to choose? Like, do you have a whole...
No, I mean, because I think this, like we talked about, it's just like I would tell them the same thing you just said, that like, you can get just as much fun out of a whiskey soda as you can out of a sugary cocktail or a beer with literally half the calories. And so we are playing the calorie game.
And
right?
It's just those wise decisions in the end.
The leanest I ever got, I was having multiple drinks per week, and it just always factored into just my overall calorie. I mean, could you get there fast without it? Of course, we said earlier, yes, but like we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how to sort of weave it into your life experience, and less is like since we're playing the calorie game, then just looking at these individual choices and just doing the best you can. If you just love fucking wine, then maybe a whiskey soda is just not ever going to work for you.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But just know that It's 150 calories per drink.
You got to put the drink into MyFitnessPal. Look up the specific beer. Look up the thing. And for people that just that are on the straight and narrow path, it's like I always tell them. And like first things, always people say like, clear liquors are the best. Fundamentally, every liquor has the same amount of calories. So whether it's whiskey, maybe some rums might have a little sugar in them, but fundamentally, if you're looking at a 40% or 80 proof liquor, the calories are the same. So whether it's a bourbon or a tequila, so it's not clear liquors only. But I would say to somebody, think about taking like a shot of tequila, put it with a lot of soda, get some fresh lime, and now you kind of have this massive liquid that contains the one drink.
Because I think so much of it too is just having the thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I know people like beers because it's like you can like chill with it for a minute
and sit there and sip
it. You know,
and
like a cocktail. Like you go to like a restaurant these days and you like order a Manhattan and they give you like a thimble. Yeah, and you're like, okay, that was $25 and it was gone
delicious.
in 2 sips.
Yeah, and it also tastes so good. Yeah, but
I guess I got another one. You know, but like if you do, so you know, there is that balance where I think like the soda, the spirits and soda is a great combo because it's like you can fill that thing up like a whole glass.
Well, that's exactly. I've had clients say like, I don't mind if you have 3 drinks, but if you're looking to last the night and you're not necessarily looking to deeply imbibe, but just like have like a large glass filled with soda and water it down and just have something to sip for a long time. I mean, it's why they say like tea when people are trying to stop drinking and they replace it with like tea and other beverages, is because very often it is just having the thing in hand and having the process. And I think so much with the social aspect, that's what's happening with drinking.
Yeah, it's just that conditioning of like I finished my night with a drink. It's like, well, if you just swap that out with a tea in that example.
Exactly. There are better options and just even strategies for drinking less in a short amount of time. Because to Justin's point, if you get a nice little cocktail that's got 2 ounces in it, you drink that lickety split. 20 minutes go by, you get another one. You could potentially have 3 of those in an hour.
Right.
Whereas if you got one drink that's 12 ounces of soda water and a tequila with some fresh lime, it's literally just the alcoholic calories. You could sip on that for a while. And again, it's just that awareness.
Some of these light beers aren't too bad either.
I was going to say light beers are a good choice.
Michelob has one that's like 80 calories, something like that. You know, like if you're not all about just getting tanked and you just want it to like have the beverage and like be social, not a bad move either. You know, a lot of those canned drinks now, like the Trulies. What's nice about that is like you know that they're 100 calories. You know,
the clean brew, the White Claws and the Trulies and all that stuff.
So there are definitely better choices you can make for sure to just like reduce the chances you're going to be going back too frequently for the next. You know, because it gets into a little bit of a slippery slope where it's like you can. You know, you start drinking fast and you get that escalation of alcohol in your blood. And it's just like you start to lose your...
because those inhibitions go down. And I think it's something you mentioned earlier that is the one thing about alcohol is it does lower inhibitions. And so if you are on a path that involves responsibility, like we've been talking about, counting calories, making proper food choices, only having a certain amount of drinks, as you kind of get in there a little bit, all those protocols are going to start to get thrown out the window.
Totally.
And so it's just one of those things of, and that's going to happen. That's fine in some degree, but the more you can mitigate it, the more responsibility you take, the more you can traverse the path. Again, specifically talking about somebody who is looking to lose weight while also having the opportunity to have some imbibing. And it goes back to, it's just like, I think, look over the calories for the day, choose, I think a big one, which it's obvious, but it's just like choose how many drinks you plan on having. Again, even if you go over, don't just say, oh, I'm going to eat a light lunch and I'm going to have a 500 calorie deficit for the day that I built in and I'm going to go out drinking.
Yeah, like good luck.
Right. It's just like at least name like, okay, I'm going to have 3 drinks. I'm going to have 3 glasses of wine. Specifically built that in. And again, if you have 4 or 5, it is what it is. But I think that is something I've seen with my clients, at least. It's like they'll create the deficit, but they won't name the future. Right. And then because it's open-ended, it all just kind of goes to shit, including ordering some like disco fries at the end of the night
for sure.
Whatever. Because they're just, because if you have,
it's like
I only have room for 3 drinks and no food. Versus, I created a deficit and I got some leeway and I don't have any plan for the night ahead. Now that I've had a few in me, well, it's like, I probably shouldn't have the fries, but whatever. Versus if you have the numbers laid out and this is all you got, there's just a little more room for that part of you to catch yourself
think like the more you participate daily with your meal planning, aka calorie counting, whatever but like the more attention to those details you give it, the more you're exposing your own little gremlin's tendency to sabotage you.
Right.
But the more general and like kind of like wishy-washy you are, the more you're empowering that dark side of you to take over once your inhibitions are lowered. And so it's like, by going that extra mile and be like, I'm not just going to leave 500 calories because that could just be a basket of fries, you know, like that's nothing.
Right.
But like, okay, here's what we're going to do is 3 drinks. And like Ethan said, if it ends up being 4, well, you're only 150 calories over now versus potentially being 1,000 calories. And that might seem crazy, but I look at meal plans all day, every day. And I have some people out there, and if you're listening, you know who you are, who they're dangerous to them. Like it's like, they're good. Then all of a sudden, a 6,000 calorie day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy shit. Because it's like once the membrane is punctured, man, you get in that slipstream where it's just like, woo!
It is crazy.
So you have to really think about it ahead of time and plan that so you don't get caught up in it and just kind of say, fuck it, I'll pick it up tomorrow. So that's thing one. Thing two, I think is really important as well, is that like, if you're going to play hard, you got to work hard. And don't let your drinking be the excuse you give yourself to then let everything else for the next 48 hours go to shit too. So like if you're going to go out and you're going to drink, you don't get to like have comfort food the next day. You don't get to like,
because you're a little hungover.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't feel good. It's because you fucking did that to yourself.
Yeah, that was your choice.
So if you want to, you like, this is the discipline that I have. Like if that I put on myself, like if I'm going to have some drinks, I'm working out the next day. I'm hitting my 10,000 steps. I'm right back on my calories. I'm not letting this be the tripwire for an entire week of just like kind of getting back on track, because that's the pitfall that people get into.
And I think this is probably one of the more important things to name, because it's just kind of like psychology. It's just the human condition. Totally. And so whether it's a vacation or a night out drinking or a hard emotional moment, the tendency to kind of like throw it all out the window is very easy to do. And you hit the nail on the head. It's like that one night of drinking, you wake up, you feel like shit, you slept in, whatever, and you're just like, I would love a fucking fried chicken sandwich now.
I'm supposed to go work. I'm supposed to do legs today. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Now you have another day where you've eaten like shit. Then you skip your workout, and then it's just this like snowball where then you call your coach and say, yeah, it's just not working for me, man. You know, like just can't. It's just too strict for me. I just can't. It's like, no, if you're gonna go and do it, have fun, and then the next day you're gonna feel like shit for one day. You just get back on track. You just do what you got to do.
And there is a little bit of grit. And this is, I do really appreciate you bringing this up, because it's something I see myself fall into all the time, of just that tripwire. And it's like, you gotta, like you can't avoid the friction. Like there's just no way around the discipline, or like the making the kind of semi-uncomfortable choice. And it's like the choice you have to make that next day while being uncomfortable will probably be a lot easier than a week down the road.
Oh yeah.
And it's just the swallowing the pill that it's inevitably going to have to happen if you want that goal. And if you're going to name that goal, you have to at one point get back on the horse and or do the hard thing and or be disciplined. You know, whatever it is, you're going to have to like face the music in some capacity.
Because it's like whatever justifications you give yourself in the moment that feel logical, like you're only going to regret it in a week or two and be like, fuck, you know. But so as hard as it is in the moment, no matter how much that little gremlin in the back of your mind is telling you, sleep in, order takeout, skip your workout, you deserve it, you don't feel well.
Yeah.
You overcome that negative voice and you just do the hard thing anyways. And then it's like, you got to realize that like life and success in life is all about momentum. And if it were to trace back to why people just can't ever seem to like accomplish what they want, it's just that this lack of momentum. They're good for a while and they're good. No, they're not. And it's like your number one objective is to stay in momentum, because without momentum, like nothing you want to accomplish is going to come to fruition, including your health and your fitness. And so it's like, if you're going to go out, don't let that be the tripwire that like pulls the momentum rug out from under you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Huge. Very wise. He's a wise man over here.
Especially if you've been in momentum up to that point. Right. Because that's another tripwire is like, ooh, I've been so good for so long.
The coast.
And you know what? We all have reward behavior syndrome. And like, that's normal for us to want to reward ourselves after doing something hard for a period of time, like a hard week of work, a hard day at work, whatever. We want to reward ourselves typically through food and alcohol. Okay, but recognize that, man, it takes a while to get into momentum, and you can reward yourself. There's value in that, giving yourself that dopamine hit after you've done something for a while, so that way you stay on the trail. But recognize that you only got to that point because of the discipline and momentum you were in. And so don't let that be the thing that severs that discipline and momentum.
You still got to keep the push. It's interesting because momentum is tricky because it has a sensation. If you just think about the word, like pushing a car out of neutral, it's like when you go to first push it, it's so hard. You get it rolling though, and you're like, oh, I'm good.
Not so hard
and
anymore.
There is almost this sensation of
we're rolling now. We can ease up.
Yeah, I can no longer push because the thing is moving on its own. And to your point, there might be a capacity to let it off a little bit, but you can't just be like, well, it's rolling now. You know, no more effort or perseverance.
Which is why like planning your week is just so crucial, and like having your daily non-negotiables, like, we're going to do 5,000 steps a day or 10,000 steps a day. I'm going to lift weights 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to eat 2,800 calories a day. Almost like I have a little thing on my desk, which is just like my little daily skills and habit checklist. And I give myself a yes or a no. It's a binary. Did I do it or did I not do it? Did not do it. Did not practice Spanish today. Okay. And I see that visually. And so it's like, that is my accountability system in a lot of ways. And I think that when you don't have these parameters for your life, then things like drinking too much, or, you know, just like letting the alcohol be the thing that like throws you off, because you've never actually like taken the time to like give yourself that 3 to 5 non-negotiables that you do for your health or for your business or for your life or whatever. And so then it's like, well, you know, like I'm accountable to no one. There's no rules. I can't break rules that don't exist. But if you give yourself, you know, but if you give yourself the rule and then you break it, you have to sit there and look at yourself and be like, I didn't do it.
Yeah, like,
and
shit.
That's harder.
It is. It's harder for sure.
It just reduces the likelihood that you will. You know, we'll still all self-sabotage at some point. But
nobody's perfect. Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? Yeah,
but maybe just mitigates the degree of self-sabotage or the frequency of self-sabotage by having it actually written out. I have rules. So anyway,
wise words.
Yeah, the tangents, but you know, it's
super, super good. You know, and I think what I would say is like there are also some things that can really help how you feel the next day.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up too. That's a good point.
To not fall into the sand pit, snake oil, tar of just, I don't wanna. Because you're always going to feel a little bit worse. Yeah, quicksand, that's what I say, sand pit.
Sand pit, tar.
You know, you never heard of that quicksand sand pit, though.
Yeah, those are the worst ones.
Those are the worst ones. But, you know, so, I mean, I think you kind of mentioned earlier, like drinking a glass of water after every drink
crucial.
is a crucial one. And then I think having some type of an electrolyte supplement either throughout or at the end of the night. I know this is a practice you do.
Definitely.
Something I do. And it's, you know, fundamentally alcohol is a diuretic, and with that go a lot of your body's minerals.
Mineral balances and
so out. And you know, electrolytes are huge for your nervous system function and all that kind of stuff. And so just having a simple electrolyte, even an emergency packet, is as a low-hanging fruit option, which I don't think is the best.
Like Element is great. Yeah. Liquid IV is my fave.
Yeah, there's a bunch out there. Go on Amazon, just look up a electrolyte supplement. They have ones with 0 calories, keto friendly, blah blah blah. You know, but it's in the sense I say keto friendly because there's literally no calories in it.
Sugar.
No sugar in it. Yeah, and I don't think sugar's bad. Like I love Liquid IV, but just like that can help so much for making you feel better. So whether it's
otherwise if you don't, then what ends up happening is you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with your dry mouth and a full bladder because your body is literally just pulling all of the water out of your cells and you're peeing
all
out
your minerals, your precious minis.
So by taking an electrolyte, what ends up happening is it just it restores that sodium barrier, and sodium is what holds water and hydration in your cells. And so by drinking the electrolyte, you get potassium and magnesium and all these other good things. But most importantly, the sodium just helps plug up your body so you're not just sitting there leaching all of your hydration out.
Yeah.
So you won't, it helps reduce the chances you're going to disrupt your sleep because you don't have to wake up and pee.
Huge.
So you stay hydrated as you sleep, which is huge. So you're not going to feel even worse by not sleeping. And then, it just makes it so you just aren't going to wake up with a nasty hangover the next day.
Not as bad. And another one is B vitamins. Getting a broad spectrum B vitamin complex, methylated if you can, not required, but helpful. And it's one of those things like some people talk about B vitamins keeping them up at night. I think it's just ridiculous. I personally, B vitamins definitely give you energy. They can definitely affect my energy levels. But I personally have never been kept up if I've had a little too much to drink from taking a B vitamin.
Yeah, it ain't the B vitamin that's keeping you up.
Yeah, but some people are in that boat. But either way, whether you take it the next morning or the night before, a B vitamin, because the same thing, your B vitamins are crucial for your mitochondria and energy production in your cells, and alcohol disrupts and takes away all that as well. And so that's just another very easy, accessible thing you can do to kind of help mitigate that next day feeling. And then there are also like crazy supplements that have been shown to help mitigate hangovers. There's a compound I cannot think of off the top of my head, but it exists, I promise you. And there's just clinical studies that have shown, because basically it's like the thing that makes you drunk is a toxic byproduct of the liver metabolizing the alcohol. So alcohol itself, ethanol, does not make you feel the sensation of being drunk. It's when your liver metabolizes the alcohol and it produces, I believe it starts with an A, also escaping my mind right now, but that's the thing that's toxic. And that's the true poison of the body. And it's that poison that actually produces the sensation of intoxication. And so if you basically, the idea, and there's even like probiotic gut biome supplements to help with this, but the idea is that the more you can like aid your liver, protect your liver, help your liver, participate with the toxin, can have, a positive outcome. And I've done some of those specific supplements, and they have helped. So I guess just how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole, but there are things you can do. So
whatever
I think
you do, don't
water,
just
electrolytes, and B vitamins are just so easy to do and can make such a big difference. Even just the water. If you just drink water throughout the night.
I would say if nothing else, water and electrolytes would be a great place to start. But like whatever you fucking do, don't get hammered, eat a bunch of shitty food,
salty, greasy,
don't drink any water, and then just go pass out. Like just don't do that.
Because that's, I think, how many
that's
people
how you wake
fall
up
victim.
and
It's
just
like
feel like
a full day's worth of sodium with some burgers and fries and already like dehydrated blood drinks. Plasma. Yeah, you're just
they're just like some like street urgent.
Yeah.
No, you like hydrate, be smart. Don't try to keep it 1 to 5 is your range drink wise. Tons of water. If you can do electrolyte, do it. Just keep better hygiene.
Yeah,
as a human being, if you're going to drink,
it's a simple decision.
So you wake up the next morning, you go, not my best, not my worst.
Right, and then therefore, I can that much easier to make the decisions to keep the momentum.
Not have to like order, breakfast in bed because you're in the
need those skip everything from IHOP.
I just don't feel good. No amount of Advil can fix that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think that does it.
Yeah, feels good.
Man, that we went a little bit long on this one, but I think we covered pretty much all the bases on it, and I think that could be helpful.
I
fall on the right ears here.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. That was episode 45. 45. That's a lot of episodes.
That is.
We'll check you all next week. Another episode coming your way. Peace out.
Peace.